Good morning, children. This lesson is for children who are working in the pyramid group. Please, before you start today's learning, do your starter, which again is numbers that can be divided by 2, 3, 5 and 10. So today's learning, we are going to be drawing pictograms again, using the 2 times, the 5 times and the 10 times table to help us. And we're going to be doing this through reasoning and problem solving questions. First question says, a year group is collecting information. So we've got 4 people speaking. This person here says 5 more children like kiwis than plums. Only 5 children like mangoes. 5 more children like plums than oranges. 15 children like oranges. Create a pictogram to display this information where one picture represents 5 children. The first thing we're going to do is we're going to look at what is the subject that we're looking at. We're looking at what was children's favourite fruits. So now we've got to identify how many fruits there are mentioned in our statements. So we've got one which is kiwis, another that is plums, then we've got mangoes, we've got plums but we've already underlined it so we don't need to underline that, and then we've got oranges, and then we've got oranges again but we don't need to underline that. So we know we've got 4 different types of fruit. So I've drawn a pictogram already that has got 4 rows, 1, 2, 3, 4. So we're going to write in our fruits now. Kiwis, plums, mangoes, oranges. And before we start plotting our information, we need to put a key. Now our key says here that one picture represents 5 children. In this case, I always say, just do a square. It's nice and easy to represent. Square equals 5 children. So we're using our 5 times table to help us. Just up here, I'm going to write our 5 times table. And this is a good idea to do to help us remember how many squares we actually need to draw for our pictogram. So we're going to take the first statement and see if we can add our information in. 5 more children like kiwis than plums. We cannot use this information yet because we don't know how many plums people like. So we need to move on to the next statement. So it says here, only 5 children like mangoes. This is quite clear that we just need to draw that only 5 children like mangoes. So we look up here, 5, there's only one lot of 5. And each square represents 5 children. So for mangoes, we just draw 1 square. Our next statement says 5 more children like plums than oranges. Again, we don't know how many oranges there are yet, so we can't use this information. So we go to the next statement. 15 children like oranges. That's information we can add to our pictogram. We'll go back up here. 5, 10, 15. So that's 1, 2, 3. 3 children, 3 squares we can draw, because that will represent 15, because each square represents 5, 5, 10, 15, 15 children like oranges. Now let's go back to our statements. We'll go to this one here. 5 more children like plums than oranges. So 5 more than the amount we've got here. Well, 15 plus 5 equals 20. 5, 10, 15, 20. 1, 2, 3, 4. So we've got 4 boxes because we've worked out that 5 more children like plums and oranges, and there were 15 oranges, so we've got 20 altogether, and 5 times 4 equals 20. We've got our last statement here, 5 more children like kiwis than plums, so 5 more than the amount here. Well, we said that there were 20 children who like plums, so we need to add 5 onto 20, which gives us 25. 5, 10, 15, 20, 25. And then we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So 5 boxes are needed to be drawn to represent 25. So that's your first question. Just be careful because the clues can sometimes be misleading. So you might have to go to skip a clue to go to the next one to be able to answer it at a later time. Olivia is drawing a pictogram to show Year 2's favourite playground games. So we've got here Year 2's favourite playground games. So games, football, skipping, hopscotch and races. Number of children. And they're saying here that each circle is worth 2 children. So we've got a number represented here. Football. We haven't got anything for skipping. We've got a number here represented with the pictures for hopscotch and races. Olivia says, I must draw 10 circles to show 20 children like skipping. Is she correct? Explain your answer. So we would say that each circle is equal to 2. If she was to draw 10 circles, would that give her 20 children like skipping? So there are 2 ways of doing this. We could draw out 10 circles, and each time we add 2 on, because we know that each value is worth 2. So 2 plus 2 is 4. And what we're going to be doing is actually counting in jumps of 2. So 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, 16, 18, 20. So I must draw 10 circles to show 20 children skipping. Well, if she drew 10 circles, she would show 20. So is she correct? Yes. Olivia is correct. And now we've explained our answer by drawing this. We could, if we wanted to next time, is if we know that 1 circle is equal to 2, to find out what 10 circles are worth, we can multiply. And we know that 2 times 10 is 20. So 2 different ways to represent that Olivia is correct. The last question we've got here is Jacob is drawing a pictogram where a circle equals 10 children. We've got the accommodation, detached house, cottage, terrace house and flat. And then we've got some information already plotted, but we haven't got anything for the cottage or terrace house. Jacob knows more children live in a flat than live in a cottage, but more children live in a cottage than a terrace house. How many children could live in a cottage? Complete the pictogram. Now this question here is going to be, the answer could vary, but we need to use a clue to work out what the possible answers could be. So we'll go back through our statement and highlight the key information. Jacob knows more children live in a flat than live in a cottage. So if we work out this value here, 10, because remember each circle is worth 10 children, 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60. And he says there are more children live in a flat than in a cottage. So we know the answer cannot be greater than 60 for cottage, because more people live in flats than cottages. So we know straight away that an answer, the highest our answer can be is 50 or 55. And the reason why it could be 55 is because if you halve the circle, that would equal 10 children. When we've looked at pictograms before, when the picture is halved, that's half the value. But more children live in a cottage than a terraced house. So more children live in a cottage than a terraced house. How many children could live in a cottage? Now, there is going to be at least a value in here into the terrace house that could be the answer. Now with this, it could either be, as we said before, it could be 5 or it could just be 10. So if we were to draw half a circle there, that would equal 5. So our value, so our people who live in cottages could be 10, 20, 30, 40, 50 and 55. This number here is greater than terraced house, at least if we were just to leave it as that, or it could be 55. So we've got possible answers. So this here, it says complete the pictogram. That there could give us the answer. If you were to just put that amount, that would still show that there's more people living in a cottage than a terrace house, but less people living in a cottage than a flat. This question is quite a tricky one, so you may want to ask for some support from your parents if you need, or your guardians, with this question. Now please go to your task sheet and answer the questions. Best of luck.